room, and, you said you released a service. A lot of people are excited. Oh, I'd like to use this. And then I said the other half, most of the people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is RPC? Why does this help me? Why would I use it? Why is this important? You just kind of explain that, like,
Sure.
why this matters to people.
So here's the history, which will give you some context and like why I think this is an important problem for PulseChain. A couple years ago, on Matic, Polygon now, I was just a user, just like everybody else, kind of like just floating around, trying not to get rugged, just like everybody else. The bull market came, and their RPCs got overloaded, and the public RPCs were horrible to use, super laggy. You couldn't get you couldn't get transactions to process, getting your MetaMask to work with the balances, like the basic thing of, hey, I started my MetaMask, I'm trying to get my token balances, which are read from a full node that's in the other side of an RPC. It's just a server, the kinds that I run, that are you're calling the balances for these different token contracts or the main token, whatever, and you're getting that information back, and MetaMask is just displaying it for you. Well, the servers have to have capacity for you to get that call and response of I need this information, let me get this information. But if it's overloaded, then it's really laggy. Then sometimes you get the spinning wheel forever where you're on the right RPC because it worked yesterday, but now it does, for whatever reason, it doesn't work. Well, that's because you're getting timed out, because like the server might have like just burned, like it might have just exploded because too many people were using it, right? So I took that experience, and what I actually needed to do on Matic was I actually bought for $50 a month. I bought a developer a RPC endpoint through Matic Vigil, which is an RPC provider for Matic, which is similar to Infura, right? Just for the Matic network. It's called Matic Vigil. So, and that worked great because they have a link and you have a certain amount of capacity, and because you're a paid customer, right? They're not, you're fine. I was just wheeling around like no problem. And then I helped a project get like the enterprise plan from them, and it was like super expensive. Like, I wish I know now what I could have done there. I could have made a killing on Matic, charging for RPC services, because they are not cheap, right? And so I helped this project pay for it, and it was fun, and they paid for their services or whatever. It worked fantastic. And then I was thinking, well, how hard is it really to do this RPC thing? Like, because I run Linux servers, I run websites, and then I do all this stuff. And I was like, it can't be that hard. And so I just started like looking at it. And when PulseChain came out, or like it was announced, and it was the V1, V2, really around V2, PulseChain is when I really started running full nodes for PulseChain and taking that experience from Matic about how, well, if PulseChain comes out and there's not RPC providers that are already there, but this is a new network that's on the ground, grassroots, like no VC, just there's no huge company supporting PulseChain. It's literally just the community supporting. I was like, well, I taught myself how to do the RPCs on like Ethereum and these other EVMs. I was like, oh, this is an EVM fork. Should be pretty easy to set up an RPC. Turned out to be, because it's in development and it was still in like V2 testnet, I had a couple challenges with turning the APIs on. So I had to get with one of the PulseChain developers. He had to give me a hint on, do the miner flag and then do these other flags inside there, and then all the APIs will turn on. Whatever. It was like a bug that they worked down, and now that's not needed. But over like a 2 or 3 month period, the intricacies of PulseChain, like the bugs, the way you do it on PulseChain, which is incredibly similar to Ethereum. And right now, it's exactly the way you do it on Ethereum. Like if you run Aragon on Ethereum, you have the exact same flags on PulseChain. Or if you run Geth on Ethereum, then you have it's the exact same thing. But during development, right? And this is like the prior version of PulseChain, not the ETH 2.0 fork version that we're currently talking about. So there was a little bit of, kind of a headache, which is fine. I figured out how to do it. And I thought about doing like an Infura service or whatever. And last October, I decided not to do that, but PulseChain wasn't out then, right? But that need is still there. There's a company called Now Nodes, which is you need to have an API key, and you have to have an API key in the headers. If you're a dev, you know that. You know what that means. But that's not like a user's not using that. You're not putting a link into MetaMask and using that Now Nodes unless they have a different version you can ask for where you have the API key that's embedded in the link, like the Infura version. Like if you go to Infura, you get an API key, but you literally get like a location block that's assigned to you that's rate limited, and you just plug that into MetaMask, and it's like just a straight URL. Well, Now Nodes has API keys in the header, which is more of like a Web3 app thing. Like no problem for a developer, like for Web3 apps, but you're not plugging that into MetaMask and using it. So that Now Nodes doesn't help the regular Joe Schmo user, like I was in Matic Polygon, because I didn't have an app. I just wanted to be able to like function in MetaMask and like actually be able to do like normal user stuff, but I needed like a paid service to do it. So Now Nodes doesn't happen. David Feeder. No. Alex is doing the RPC called Pulse Fusion. David Feeder's got the validator store, and he's got other stuff. Okay, so all these people, there's like 5 or 6 top ranked people in the community are all doing interesting things. So Alex was doing Pulse Fusion, right? And he's got like some GraphQL servers that he might be coming out with, and he's got an RPC that's similar to like mine, and he's going to do a service, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I want to talk about Alex's stuff.
Right? In the bull market, it's still going to be a problem for people.
So yeah, I definitely want to get to Alex's stuff too. But I just want to ask again for everyone watching and wondering, like, why, if we have 100 people that create exposed RPC services to use, as the average user, is there any benefit to me switching to my MetaMask to use your RPC or anyone else's, or is it just more for developers who are using blockchain applications to use this type of things?
Well, it depends on what's exposed. So like right now we have the main RPC, which can handle most anybody's use. Just about everything. The debug API on Aragon isn't exposed on the main RPC. It's exposed on mine. I'm also I'm rolling out the Beacon API, which is all the consensus, right? When you talk about RPCs, like in MetaMask, you're talking about execution layer. Talking about token balances, token contract balances, the gas token, like doing transaction, deploying contracts, like all of that is on an execution environment, which is Aragon or Geth. And so I have that, which is what you're looking at right now, is my RPC for testnet and mainnet and WebSocket, which is just a different way to access it. But my servers are just in Europe. It's not global. Like I don't have $1 billion budget to have like a globally spaced like 4 servers in every country in the world, and you can get 30 millisecond latency everywhere in the world. Like you're not getting that for mine. Now the main RPC is distributed globally, 60 millisecond average, fantastic RPC. Like use it, no problem, right? If you're a developer and you need, say, debug, but you don't want to run your own RPC, you can use mine. So because I already have it exposed. The Beacon API, which is the Beacon chain, because the consensus layer has a lot of data. So if you need, like, say, data analytics from the Beacon chain, but you don't want to run your own Beacon nodes, right? You don't need it's basically you have Lighthouse in archive mode and then Aragon in archive mode. That's what I'm running. So if you need that for your website to get data analytics for whatever, then you can just use mine. It's fine. At a point, if I'm in like 1 trillion calls a month or some crazy number, then I might have to put rate limiting on there and maybe like think about like how this is going to be sustainable. But that's not something I'm really worried about. So you can just use it as much as you want. if you try and DDoS me, then like I have that protection. So I'll just
I will come find you.
I'll have the whatever. I'll just up the limit on my provider. And then so basically my provider will take care of any DDoS attacks, which eventually will happen. Somebody will like have fun and here, let me check out this link and try and mess with them. And then that's fine. Come for me. I'd love to see that. That would be a very interesting day for me. Please do so. It'd be fun for me actually. I'll do a YouTube of my first DDoS attack of my service for fun.
You're reminding me of Richard looking at the camera talking to SEC. I prevent more people from scams than you. Like you're like, I'm DDoS, DDoS my server. That'd be a fun day.
So I was saying, I was like, so you're talking about there's a couple. There's a service called Public Node, like right there, Public Node. They have a couple servers that are running. And then there's another one that's like Third something or other. There's like another RPC provider that might be a couple of servers or one server. I'm not really sure how much capacity they have. But with me, I have a lot of capacity. It's fine. My only problem is I'm only being hosted in Europe because that's how I can keep my costs down, and like it's a reasonable amount for me to have scale with servers so that I can have enough servers to have capacity. So with that, I take a hit on latency. So globally, I'm around 100 milliseconds. The main RPC is like 60 milliseconds. So you say double. I would throw the number. I'm like twice the latency of the main RPC because I don't have globally hosted, servers, which I'm never going to have globally hosted servers. But what I do have is the capacity for you to like just use my service, and I don't even have it rate limited. I mean, there's a point at which you're going to get knocked off if you're, that would be considered to be like a DDoS attack at some point. But like there is an undisclosed like limit of use you can use, and I'm not really worried about you using it. So everybody on PulseChain could use my service right now, and it's not affecting me at all. And then it's more designed. I'm trying to tailor it towards like, hey, developer, you have this random, like yesterday, this guy was like, hey, I need access to the Beacon API. How can I get that? And I was like thinking about it. I was like, I don't think anyone is providing that. Is that me? Can I do that? Okay. Then I looked at it as like, that's super easy for me because I just needed to copy and paste a configuration to Nginx, which is a reverse proxy. And then I kind of messed that up a little bit because, front slashes are my bane a little bit with the Nginx configurations. Super annoying. And so I did a couple trial and error on that one. And then I got it working. It took me a little bit. And like most things, when you're doing development, it's like sometimes it's just trial and error. And I'm rolling out testnet right now. It's like live on testnet. Mainnet is being rolled out right now for the Beacon API, which is it's all the data from the Beacon chain. It's all the validator. It's all the slashing. It's all the staking. It's all the consensus level stuff for PulseChain. Yeah, there's a reverse proxy, which is Nginx, which is the way it works. Just to explain, is like you're at a computer, and then you put your link to gamma.io, and then you call my server, and it's going to be secure over 443 port, and then so you hit my Nginx reverse proxy on my server. Once you go through my my networking vendor that does DDoS and stuff for me. So you hit my origin server at my Nginx reverse proxy. The reverse proxy just ports forward the 443 to 8545, which is like Aragon, and now you're hitting the Aragon client for all your calls. And so Nginx is just doing that connection, TCP connection, and then forwarding traffic to the correct client, which is going to be, in my case, it's either going to be Aragon the execution environment, or it's going to be the Beacon API, which is going to be like Lighthouse. And so it's like you're either going to hit one of the two, depends on which link you're using, right? You're either going to use the RPC -PulseChain period gamma.io, like that's just the RPC. Use regular MetaMask, put in the MetaMask, use it for transactions, and then I just amended a Beacon -API front slash very important, and then you can access the Beacon API, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's Beacon API, right? In there. And yeah, it's all served from the same server, several servers, right? Load balance and all that. Developers will like it. One less thing for you to do as a developer. For like 2 years, this is what I've been doing. I've been doing RPCs, learning how to run them, managing them. Actually, it was a year ago that I stopped my old RPC before PulseChain launched in March, right? Because PulseChain hadn't launched yet, and I was like, okay, let me put this in the back burner, and then once PulseChain is out for a while, I can just dust it off and I can just get it back and running. We're 4 months in, and about a month ago, which I kind of knew, I didn't make a plan for it, but I was like, okay, maybe after PulseChain's alive for maybe 3 months, I dust off the whole RPC thing again, and then make a go of that. It's helpful that I've gotten a lot of my concerns for cost are taken care of. So I'm not worried about paying for the service. So it's like the cost for me is the same if I have no users or if I have 30,000 users at this point.